Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of Knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today we have an interesting episode, but before we get into the good stuff, I do want to talk about a couple things. First, I don't think we got anyone scheduled for Saturday, so I don't have any submission of questions yet. But also, this Wednesday will be our Wrecking Crew Roundtable. Yeah, that's an opportunity for those individuals who are part of the Wrecking Crew to choose the topic once again. They choose the topic every Wednesday, but this time they will be there on a Zoom call, and they'll be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about in that topic. Last time it went fantastic. If you haven't seen that yet, it's the first Wednesday of every month, so that would be the first Wednesday of June. I posted that. I'm going to be doing it this upcoming Wednesday. It's about 2 days from now, as far as I understand. And if there is a lot of people, we're going to have two different record times. One of them might be hosted by Mike Still. It looks like so far the topic that is winning is that we will be commenting on clips of the Steiner testimony that just recently happened. So I think that's kind of exciting. I think that'll be fun. Today we are doing an episode that I'd like to call Taming the Paper Tiger. That is an episode talking about branch paperwork. And if you haven't seen my episodes already about the grievance process and organizing those things, you should go back and check them out. I do believe they're in the 30s. But like you know from that episode, my opinion on settlements is that you should never get rid of settlements. Settlements should always be a part of the process. Some branches will even keep the 8190s. I don't personally keep the 8190s, but I understand why they would, because they're the controlling document of the settlement. But I haven't had a situation yet where I needed to have a settlement and the 8190, and I didn't. So I don't know. Call that by ear. But for the most part, you want to have a record of all your settlements in numerical order. But a lot of this episode is not geared towards stewards. It's more about branch officers, but I think stewards and carriers can learn a lot about it. Technically, I'll be reading from two different articles. I just took the relevant parts out of two different articles from the NALC. So that's why it sounds like I'm reading. But what can you do with all the paperwork that inevitably results from union work? Record keeping is important for everyone who works for NALC, not just branch presidents or secretary treasurers. A few simple practices that can help you maintain the necessary records without being buried under piles of paper or trapped in a maze of computer files. The ultimate goal, to have what you need and what the law requires, and to find it quickly when you need it. That way, you can do your work efficiently and the branch will function more smoothly. I do solemnly promise on my honor that I will faithfully attend the meetings of the branch, observe and faithfully execute the laws of the National Association of Letter Carriers and the bylaws of this branch, I will perform to the best of my ability the duties of the office to which I have been elected, guard all property placed in my charge, and at the expiration of my term of office, turn the same over to my successor. I will do everything in my power to promote the welfare of the National Association of Letter Carriers and its members. That comes straight from the NALC Constitution. It is the form of installation ceremony. When new branch leaders take office, they usually have a plan ready to take on all their required duties. But as Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. The overwhelming mountain of day-to-day fires that union leaders must put out is steep. In the daily grind of defense of the contract, some of your other duties may fall by the wayside. One of those duties is managing branch records. Managing branch records is not what most people consider fun, but it is vitally important and can be achieved by carving out a small piece of time on a yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis. What is a record? A record is all materials created or received and then maintained for the official business of an office or an organization. Records are unique to the specific body that creates them. Most of the time, one would think of pieces of paper as a record. However, if you think in broader terms, digital items can also be records that need to be managed and maintained. There are some records that must be maintained forever, some that can be discarded after a period of time, and some that you can dispose of immediately. And just because something has NALC on it does not always make it your responsibility. Knowing all the rules is tough for anybody. This is why any good record keeper has a retention schedule. Now, where do you start? The first step in establishing order is to look at your current practice. Open your filing cabinet or desk drawer. What kind of system do you have? Do you have lots of file folders with nothing in them because you never take the time to file? Are your drawers crammed full? Do you have pile grievance paperwork on the chair? NALC correspondence on the floor? Publications on top of the filing cabinet? How do your files relate to other branch records? Does everyone in your branch office have a different system? If you were away, could someone else figure out where anything is? Log on to your computer. Are all your files in one long list in the My Documents folder, or do you have established folders to organize your electronic records? Can you tell what each document contains by the name you have given to it? Look into your email. How many messages are in your inbox? Do you still have that notice from last year changing the date for a meeting? Or do you routinely discard emails once you've read them and acted on them? Anything related to NALC and its business is potentially a document worth keeping. Union records found in most branches include memos, USPS correspondence, bylaws, notes of time spent on union business, contracts, receipts, financial data, grievance and membership records, photographs, and videos. They can be on paper or electronic, but not everything needs to be kept. Following the retention schedule on later on in this episode will help you decide what to keep and ensure that you comply with legal requirements and NALC policy. But this schedule can't cover everything. Every branch is different. You must consider your branch's practical needs and then draw up a supplemental retention schedule for these additional records. Don't forget a policy for email. Now let's go over that retention schedule. We're going to talk about each and every type of document and how long you should keep it and what actually establishes that. Bylaws and amendments, those are permanent retention. That's the LMRDA. Local Memorandum of Understanding, permanent retention. That's by the LMRDA. Minutes of meeting, permanent retention schedule. LMRDA requires that minutes be retained for 5 years since they record authorization for branch expenditures. NALC recommends that they be kept permanently for historical and research purposes. And I agree with that. Branch history documentation, permanent retention schedule. Includes things such as photographs, videos, buttons, uniform items, posters, and news clippings of significant branch events. Branch publications, permanent. Retain an annual backup of website, more frequently if major changes are made. Subject files, 3 years. This includes community activities, political information, and other items monitored by branch. Election records, 1 year. LMRDA, 29 U.S. Code 481E requires that election records and all related materials be kept for 1 year. Correspondence, general, 3 years. Recommendation for routine correspondence, important items should be kept as long as needed. Membership, 3 years. Financial, 5 years. The LMRDA requires that records supporting the DOL findings, LM1, 2, 3, and LM4, be kept for 5 years after the year of filing. Membership dues deduction forms, 3 years. But dues data, permanent. NALC policy is keep a list of all members who sign Form 1187 and include the date of delivery to employer from each form. So keep the form for 3 years, but after you dispose of the form, keep a list of all members who sign a Form 1189, including the date each form was signed. If applicable, note date dues deductions stop. And same with the 1187, keep a list of all the members. EEO case files, 5 years. Moving papers only, 7 years. Grievance case files, full files, 5 years. Moving papers only, 7 years. MSPB case files, 5 years. Moving papers only, 7 years. OWCP case files, 5 years. And this is after the case is completed, 5 years. If the branch handles workers' compensation cases for its members, that would be when you keep it. Financial records, branch books, they're permanent. Includes cash journals, equipment records, etc. Financial statements and reports, permanent. Officers' bonds, permanent. Direct pay per capita tax rosters, 5 years by the LMRDA. Dues reimbursement listings, 5 years by the LMRDA. IRS returns and forms, 5 years. Federal tax law mandates that tax records be kept at least 3 years. Since some IRS records support DOL findings, all should be kept for 5 years, required under the LMRDA. Labor Department reports, 5 years, under the LMRDA. Member dues payment records, 5 years, under the LMRDA. All right, one crucial point, your focus should always be your work, your branch, and its records. These are usually documents that no one else in the NALC has, and if you don't keep track of them, nobody will. Start by cleaning out items that should not be filed. Items that fall into this category include materials like magazines, pamphlets, books issued by organizations other than your branch, duplicates, envelopes, unless you need to verify postmark, routine ephemeral items such as telephone messages, form cover letters, and most emails. You may, of course, wish to keep some of these items, such as books or magazines, for reference purposes, but remember that they are not branch records, which you need to retain once their usefulness is past. This applies to national NALC documents as well. You may wish to keep copies of national NALC documents like convention proceedings, but you don't need to take up storage space preserving back issues. The NALC National Office already preserves those documents. Next, identify your current or active records and files. Current records are the papers that you use on a regular basis as you do your union work. They're the ones that you want close at hand because you need to refer to these documents frequently. It is especially important that they be well organized and up to date. You may have inherited a filing system from your predecessor, but take a minute to make sure the files that exist are logically arranged. Add file topics as needed to reflect the activities of your branch and your specific job. Subdivide files that have gotten too large and cumbersome. Prepare an index of all your topics and subtopics. It will help you organize your record logically. You don't need to spend a fortune on filing supplies. Here are some suggestions to help keep your records organized and easy to use. Use a locking and fireproof filing cabinet to safeguard your records. Label folders with both topic and the date. Keep your files manageable in size. Don't overstuff or get rid of any duplication, and subdivide by date or subheading if necessary. Color coding. Either the file folders themselves or the labels make it easier to find exactly what you need. Allow room for expansion in each file drawer. Leave about 20% of each drawer empty. The single most important thing to do is file. It may seem boring, but everything depends on it. If you can't get in the habit of putting things away right when you're finished, at least schedule a regular time each week to file. Remember, the best record-keeping system in the world is useless if you don't keep it up. Don't stop at your paper documents. The files on your computer need organizing too. Make folders in My Documents which parallel your paper folders. When you type a letter or other document, take the time to save it in the appropriate folder. Give your files obvious, easily understood names, and safeguard your electronic records by backing up your computer files regularly. Email poses a special challenge. As mentioned above, you should have an email retention policy and follow it. NALC headquarters, for example, only allows emails to be kept for 6 months. Routinely get rid of emails as you deal with it. If the message communicates important information, print a paper copy or transfer it to the appropriate computer file. Once you've thrown out what you shouldn't keep and have organized your current records, what's left? Inactive records are those to which you need to refer to only occasionally, perhaps once or twice a year. Or else they are records which, according to the retention schedule, you have to maintain for a given length of time, like old grievance case files or financial data, for example. Records that are no longer immediate use should be removed from your filing cabinets and retired on a regular basis. These records can be boxed and stored, but they shouldn't be thrown into boxes willy-nilly. Store related files together in standard record storage boxes available at any office supply store. Whenever you move paper files out of your filing cabinet, you should also clean up your computer by moving old files to disks. Always inventory each box and computer disk so that you know what's stored where. You can also use USB as well. Label each box and all computer disks with both the topic and the date. That way you can easily find a specific document when you need it. Where you store inactive files depends on what space is available. Here are some pointers to keep your records in good shape. Avoid attics and basements. The ideal storage space is clean and dry, without bugs and with little or no light. Steel shelving is always best. Make sure the bottom shelf is at least 3 inches off the floor. All right, so records management is important for practical reasons. There are 3 main practical reasons for good records management. To be sure you have the documents that you are legally required to keep and need to do your job. To be sure you can find the document you need to do your job. And to make your union life easier over the long run. For Philadelphia, PA Branch 157, finding documents, especially grievances, was getting harder and harder to find and store. Our grievance storage system was overloaded. The number of grievances became untenable for the storage system we had, said Branch President Tim Malavenia. The branch leadership decided they needed a system that could hold all their grievances. This was a few years back, before cloud storage was affordable and in everyday use. We decided on a wall-mounted sliding filing system, like the kind you would see in a doctor's office. They received 3 estimates for the installation of the system and then presented the issue to the membership at the branch meeting. The membership voted yes on the new system. We let them understand that these weren't my files. They were the membership's and the branch's files, the branch president said. The aforementioned oath earlier that all union leaders take requires them to guard all property placed in my charge, and at the expiration of my term of office, to turn the same over to my successor. Think about when you replace someone in a branch position. Were their files and records nice and neat? Did they have a system that only they could understand? Was it just a bunch of papers in a few dusty boxes that had no rhyme or reason? Treat the records in your charge in the same way you would want them to be handed over to you. If you are unsure of the rules, check the retention schedule. If you are unsure after that, check with the Secretary Treasurer's office. I am available to talk you through any questions you have about branch records. You can always call my office for help, said Nicole Ryan, our National Secretary Treasurer. Branch records are branch property, just like desks and computers. Treat them as such. Keeping branch records in the trunk of your car or garage because it is convenient does not make it right by the branch. York, PA Branch 509 decided to electronically store its files. Our grievance filing system wasn't as efficient as it could have been or should have been. It seemed like each person who came behind the next would slightly alter the filing naming system, which made it harder to find things when we needed them. 20-minute searches add up and slow down the entire process. There is never enough time in a day for a union leader, and searching for mislabeled files can make it worse. We looked into a cloud storage system. Our branch is not huge, so finances were a big issue. We were able to find a system that was big enough to hold our data without breaking the bank. We were able to start a filing system that the stewards could use, and all the files would be recorded using a universal filing code. It has saved the stewards time in their busy day. Electronic files provide a record of which union official accessed the document and when. It has been a lifesaver for the branch. Also, no one is above the law, including union leaders. There are strict rules and regulations that each branch must follow. Follow the retention schedule. The LMRDA has specific requirements as to what records the branch is legally required to keep. The Department of Labor has its own rules and offers best practices. Department of Labor's electronic record-keeping compliance tips can be found online. Good record-keeping also follows IRS statutes and Federal Election Commission regulations. There could be fines for you or the branch and possible jail time if you do not follow the rules of records management. On March 22, 2020, Branch 9 in Minnesota members had the unthinkable happen to them when a fire broke out at their branch hall. This also happened to us at 4374. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but everything was lost inside. Now, a regional workers' compensation assistant, Samantha Hartwig, was sworn in as president the day after the fire. It was a real learning curve for her and the branch. Luckily, they kept copies of their financial records in a safe deposit box at their bank. Every year, the branch trustees make an office inventory list and video inventory. It really helped when they were dealing with an insurance company. We had a Norman Rockwell painting hanging in the hall. Having a video inventory proved to the insurance company that we had the painting. The treasurer worked with their accountants to rebuild their financial records and has now switched over to a digital version of QuickBooks. All the grievances were lost in the filing cabinets. With the help of postal management, they were able to rebuild their grievance files. Now they scan their grievances and save them on the cloud. The thing that breaks your heart was the historical items we lost. Our branch hall had been around since 1893. We cannot go back in time and fix things, but we can make sure that we are prepared as best we can if we have a disaster in the future. Not all records are paperwork. The historic materials need to be taken care of just as much. Omaha Branch 5 Vice President Andrea Molina has always wondered about a bookcase in her branch hall that was piled up with all kinds of things. It was an eyesore for anyone that walked into her office, she said. After taking a records management class at the NALC Leadership Academy, she decided to tackle the bookshelf as a project. It was a no-go zone. I found many hidden gems in that bookcase, a duplicate of our charter, a convention pin in mint condition from when Omaha hosted the National Convention in 1915, and an invitation to the second annual ball from December 31, 1891. Those are just a few of the items that they found. They had old uniforms and letter carrier caps. I brought up my project at our monthly meeting and told the members what I found. I asked for funds for a display case, a few shadow boxes, and a mannequin to display the uniform. She said, adding that the branch hall now has a display right when you walk in. It brings a sense of pride in knowing that we belong to something bigger than ourselves. Preserving our history was a wise investment for the branch. All right, so now I'm going to end the episode on a list of 10 tips for good records management. 1. Follow the retention schedule. The NALC retention schedule gives you an easy follow list for the branch's records. If the type of record is on the retention schedule, keep it for the minimum amount of time listed. This will keep you out of trouble. If the document is not on the retention schedule, use your common sense. Evaluate how or if you will use the document in the future and what the best way to keep it is. Number 2, branches are responsible for branch records. Don't rely on the NALC headquarters, the NBA's office, or anyone else to keep your branch documents. Your branch should have an easy-to-follow system to be able to access your records at a moment's notice. The branch's bylaws, LMOUs, meeting minutes, and selected financial statements, officers' bonds, and historical items are all classes of records that should be kept permanently. Number 3, all records belong to the branch. Branch records do not belong to the person who produced them. Storing them in the trunk of your car, garage, or home is a terrible idea. You have a responsibility to turn them over to your successor. They do not belong to you. Number 4, when dealing with financial records for Department of Labor filings, err on the side of caution. If you are not sure if you need it, keep it for 5 years after the date of filing to be on the safe side. Be sure to record all income and expenses. Remember that income would include money raised for the Letter Carrier Political Fund, the MDA, and other charities, and expenses would cover the transfer of those funds to NALC headquarters. Make sure meeting minute record approval of payments and purchases. These rules apply to records of branches that have merged with yours. Number 5, organize your files, both paper and computer. The branch needs to choose the appropriate format to store your records. If you choose a computer system, have a plan before you scan. Think about how you will organize your digital files before starting. If you choose to stay with paper, you need to know where all of your paperwork is and which filing cabinet it is in. The best practice is to keep an inventory of all records stored, whether in a box, in the cloud, or on a flash drive. You must be able to find things. The required LM forms ask if your records are kept at the mailing address listed. The branch is responsible for records no matter where they are stored. Number 6, saving something electronically is only the first step. Unlike with paper, you must take steps on a regular basis to ensure you can access your computer files. A migration strategy is needed to avoid obsolescence due to the format and software changes. Having multiple formats and devices can make access for everyone in the branch more complicated. If opting for cloud storage, know the details of what your provider does or doesn't do. Opting for electronic storage, the Department of Labor imposes clear responsibilities. Documents must be indexed and easy to retrieve. Documents must be legible, whether on the screen or printed out. Software and hardware must be maintained to ensure access for the entire period of storage. Number 7, computer records can degrade over time. Thumb drives do not last forever. Know the limitations of your storage media. If you are using a thumb drive for storage, start with a new one. Store your electronic databases carefully. If it is not automatic, remember to back up your electronic files and keep your backup records up to date. Identify and protect the branch's financial records. Keep a paper copy of all important records. Paper is always accessible, and a good quality paper has a long shelf life if it is stored properly. Keep a set of vital records away from the branch office and set up a system to keep them up to date. This will be a duplicate set used as a backup in case of some type of disaster. Vital records include banking information, insurance policies, membership rosters, emergency contact lists, and financial statements. Number 9, protect your members' privacy. When handling, storing, or disposing of branch records, be aware of personally identifiable information. This includes street addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, and credit card numbers. Number 10, it's okay to throw things out. Keeping everything, whether digitally or in hard copy, is not records management. It's hoarding. Make sure to dispose of materials appropriately. Throw away routine items. Shred or burn completely financial documents or anything with personal identifiable information. Destroy old hard drives, CDs, and thumb drives. Don't just throw them out. Cloud storage raises other issues. Did the provider make backup copies? How did they destroy these backups? Remember, the goal is to turn the branch records over to the next person in better shape than you received them. So that is the entire episode. I myself fall victim of the trying to hoard everything. But that's because I got a small office, so it's easy to be accused of hoarding things when you don't have a whole lot of storage space. That's why I recently have been trying to convert most of our stuff into digital format. But hopefully you learned something valuable today. If you want to join the Patreon, feel free to do so, and you can be welcomed on our second Wrecking Crew Roundtable, which happens in 2 days. It'll be at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. EST if we have enough people to fill 2 time slots. Hopefully you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.